friends. Welcome to the pod. I'm Annie, and I'm so excited to be back to be recording another podcast for you all. If you haven't heard of my previous podcast, you can find it on Spotify. It's called Echo Timeout. Go listen and also let me know your thoughts. Subscribe over there. This is there to create a podcast about creativity, photography, business, personal branding, marketing, just mainly centered around creativity and really building something that is unique to you. We are here on building our creative community, and we'd love for you to join. As a female entrepreneur, it's crucial to stand up for yourself when building your business. So join me in conversations with my guests as we discuss the struggles they faced and how they overcame them in their journey. Let's learn from each other and inspire one another to keep pushing forward. As a brand photographer, I understand the satisfaction of creating something you're proud of. However, the road to success is not always easy. I had to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet, even when I fell. Let's empower each other to keep striving towards our goals and overcome any obstacles that come our way. Please don't forget to subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else you get your podcast from. I think the pod is also on YouTube, so go over there and subscribe and comment and like and all of that. Also, don't forget to rate this podcast. Let us know your thoughts, and let's build something that is uniquely ours. Thank you for tuning in. Bye. I'll see you in the episode. Hi, Alex.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. I'm so glad you can make it. For a second, I thought I sent you the wrong link.
No, all good, all good. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. I was just saying to the pod that before you came in that I'm just recording from my bed. It's very cold outside. It's been raining all morning.
It is cold. It's not a nice day, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. So before we start, can you introduce yourself to the pod?
Of course, yeah. My name's Alex Noel. I'm a writer and digital marketer. My background's in marketing, and I upskilled in digital marketing in mid 2022, and I've really sort of embarked on a new stage in my career as a writer and digital marketer, and really passionate about all things creative and people pursuing creative careers. And so that's why it's great to be here with Anissa for Dare to Create.
Oh, that's great. Like, how did you get into writing?
How do I get into writing? That's a really good question. I've always written. I kept a journal from when I was quite young, so in my teenage years, and it wasn't a diary exactly. It was a place to process my thoughts and get things down, and I think it really helped. It did build a practice of really ordering thoughts and bringing a logic to those things. And when I graduated from university, what I wanted to do was to become a travel writer or a restaurant critic. I was like very into the food scene. At that time, I was living in Bristol, having just graduated from the university there, and I think I just wanted to write about my experiences. I think it was a way. It's a bit like when an artist wants to draw a beautiful painting. I wanted to write about my experiences, but that it sort of got shelved, and I went into a career that was largely uncreative. But I've kept writing all through that time, and And then not that long ago, I started to put a few things forward to magazines, and they got picked up and commissioned. And yeah, so that's kind of where the writing has come from initially, but then begun to open up in a more professional capacity.
Oh wow, that's really awesome. I do relate to the part where you said, because for a while, I was into writing. I had a blog and everything. That was like
Mm.
years ago. But it did start from, journaling back in when I was in like college, and I would just journal, get all my thoughts out. They didn't feel like a diary, almost they almost felt like a story of just like what my week was like. Um, and I do remember like my teacher trying to encourage me to, back in high school, trying to encourage me to do more writing, do more stories. Because when they do like the GCSEs, not even the GCSEs, but more like they give you a story to write about. Say, what was your favorite memory in childhood?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I would just like write, and she really loved it, so she would try and encourage me to do more.
yeah. Yeah, I was going to say with that, I find that because after university, I did an art foundation, and so I got to try out loads of different forms of artistic expression. And it was those courses often have an exploratory phase, and then you have a pathway towards your specialism, which I'm sure you'll know about that as well. And
Yeah.
I found that in writing, a lot of those things have helped. So um, learning to really look and to really observe and to notice things, which was more part of my art foundation, has actually really come into writing. So I think it built into me this an ability to, I guess it's a skill, but an ability to observe and notice and then to describe. So I think that's been really helpful. And I do find that other creative pursuits seem to cross pollinate. So you'll get sort of inspiration from one thing, say, being out in nature and taking photographs, and then that might come into a piece of writing that you're doing, a bit later. So I think there's a lot to be said for the kind of cross pollination of different artistic disciplines.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because after a while, like my way of expressing myself kind of changed to photography.
Mm.
So it started with writing. I remember I even had a Tumblr back in day in the day when Tumblr was new. Then I moved to WordPress. And then I just stopped writing, and photography was kind of coming up for me. So I get where the cross pollination does come in. Like it's quite interesting. Sometimes words doesn't need to be said. Well, from my
Mm.
perspective anyway.
Yeah,
um, you know, an image says a lot more than you think.
yeah, I can really understand that. That's I think there's something about many creative mediums that are able to communicate where words fail. If you really want to communicate a feeling, sometimes using an image or creating an image is a much more, whether that's painting or photography or whatever, that's
Mm.
much more effective. So I like it when the medium follows what you want to say and what you want to communicate. I think the two are indivisible for me. Is a lot of it is about communication.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're gonna move to the next question, and I really wanted to know how you got into digital marketing because I find that so fascinating
Yeah,
and very difficult as well.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I was fortunate in that I got to a point where I decided that I really wanted to get back into marketing. I'd had a career break that sort of came along during the pandemic, and for various reasons, I took a bit of time out, and I decided to. I just had a brainwave one day, and I thought, "Oh, I think I want to get back into marketing. I really enjoy it."
Mhm.
But I wanted to upskill, and I came across the Google Career Certificate, the professional certificate in digital marketing and e-commerce, and it's a 6-month self-paced training online with Google trainers, and it covered the full remit of digital marketing and e-commerce, and it was quite rigorous actually. And I've since done some mentoring on a course for others who are studying the same thing, and that's what got me into digital marketing. But I had that background already, but I knew that I wanted to revisit first principles, but I also wanted to upskill and learn new things. And it's been an absolute game changer. I really enjoy it. I love the problem solving. I love the fact, for me, it brings together two of my skill sets, which often felt very separated. So one was the sort of analytical side of my skill set, and the other was the creative. And digital marketing's really brought those together. So that's how I got into it, and then set up a freelance business as a digital marketer and writer. But that was at the beginning of this year, so February 2023.
Okay. Oh wow. So like what always interested me was because I didn't write this question down, but what really interested me was how you try to make money doing digital marketing.
How did I do that?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what were the steps that you took in order for you to be like, okay, well, now I'm a freelancer, I'm doing digital marketing, um, whether that's for businesses or brands or, creators, like
yeah.
how did that process come along for you?
How did it come about? Yeah. I mean, I started off by I told my network. I had conversations with people that I knew, and ended up in the course of conversation pitching what I might be able to do to help them. Um, one conversation, I had a conversation with somebody about possibly doing some graphic design, which I'd done before, but that then quickly evolved into understanding what the kind of core problems were and what their goals were, and I realized that the digital marketing would I could do more for them than just sort of no more than just graphic design, but there was a bigger problem that needed to bring in the digital marketing skills, and that I could help with that. So I pitched that and got some work from that. So I began getting paid work quite quickly, but also I did lots of really interesting projects. Some of them were skill swaps. So for example, I worked with an interior designer, and I did a social media strategy for her, and she designed a couple of room schemes for me. So there's some really brilliant creative ways to really build my portfolio. So my first goal was to build up my portfolio, but I did that in lots of different ways. Some projects were free gifts to people. So I had a friend who'd written a book, and I really wanted to help her sell her book, so I offered some digital marketing for free. And I built a WordPress site, and produced all her web content and all that kind of thing for her. But that then in turn, people saw what I'd done, and then that's produced more work, even though that initial project was for free. I think it's all about being able to demonstrate your skills, and people will often employ you on the strength of your skills.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Because I was thinking a lot about digital marketing and what it includes. So would that be like graphic designs, websites, um, social media content,
Yeah,
ads around that type, or is
yeah.
there another way?
It's incredibly broad, and I mean, at the moment I call myself a generalist, so I'm
Right.
increasingly finding my niche. But I mean, digital marketing goes from, yeah, like strategy for social content, social strategies, to web content, search engine optimization, ads, whether that's on Google or other search engines, and social platforms like Facebook. There's also lots of analytics, so understanding who's visiting your website, who's visiting your social sites. And I think the data aspect to that is really interesting, because you can you can make sort of data informed recommendations based on, you know, the demographics and psychographics of the people who are, that sort of behaviors of the people who are visiting, you know, your website or your socials. And I think you can get really precise with digital marketing, and that's something that's really rewarding actually, when you sort of do your number crunching and look at the data, and then, you know, you can make some really great, draw some, you know, really interesting conclusions, and then make data informed recommendations to clients, based on that. So it's, yeah, it is incredibly broad. I think I have so far been finding more of a niche within the parts of digital marketing that use writing, but I've also done a lot of analytics, when it's come to improving, for example, search engine optimization.
Yeah. And I just want to, the main reason why I find it so interesting is that I have a business. I'm doing brand photography and all of that. So I'm the business owner, doing the marketing, I'm doing the content, I'm doing the sales. I'm pretty much doing every single thing within my business, and digital
Mhm.
marketing it is one of them, but I do find it quite hard sometimes, especially when it comes to like the search engine stuff. Um
Yeah, I think there's loads of help and online, and there are lots of experts to follow
yeah.
and free advice. So I think there's always help available for that kind of thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
as an entrepreneur, you do end up doing absolutely everything at the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I really wanted to do the this podcast, because just to give, the listeners an opportunity to learn from different entrepreneurs and business owners and how they do their business, and whatever advice they can get to just start out.
Yeah.
Um, so like, what motivated you? Like, where did you get your motivation from?
To do the in general, or to do the writing and digital marketing
In general, yeah.
in general? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a really good question, and I had to sort of do a bit of you know, introspection, like thinking, yeah, where does my motivation come from? I think a big part is like wanting to communicate things of value and wanting to help other people do the same. So I really enjoy helping people and enabling people to grow their businesses and meet their goals, and to communicate something great to their audience. So, you know, I think if I find something brilliant, I often want to shout about it. I want to tell people there is a sort of natural sort of there's a natural marketer in me. Definitely, I want to tell people about things that have real value. I think also, another big part of the motivation is the creative process itself. Like, it's both problem solving and making ideas, being part of making ideas a reality. I think whether I was being paid or not, I always turned towards making. Like, I'm a maker. I want to make things. So that might be cooking, or making a photograph, or making a painting, or sewing, or writing, or singing. I want to make. That's such a driver for me. Um, so I think that the creative process is absolutely sort of core to a lot of my motivation, and is a big driver for me, definitely. But also, you know, wanting to help people to accomplish their goals and grow their businesses, or whatever it might be, their enterprises and charities, you know, across the board, really.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I do relate to you in that way. Like, my main drive is creativity.
Mm.
And many years, like, I've always asked myself, okay, what is my purpose on this, planet? Like, what am I supposed to do? And it wasn't like until the end of last year that creativity and that light bulb just went on. Um, and again, coming back to the podcast, the name, it's something that is that I've always feared, because I've always feared my creativity. So Dare to Create is the name for the podcast. And it's almost like challenging entrepreneurs or just anyone listening, whatever passion that they might have, to create whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. I know exactly what you mean when you say you can fear your creativity, because there's definitely a power there. I
Mm,
think it's also can be quite a vulnerable place to step into that and to begin. It requires risk taking. It requires being seen. It requires not being very good at the beginning,
yeah, it's
and then
very raw
improve.
and vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the start of creating things that are really worthwhile and of value, and honing our craft. So yeah. I
Yeah.
know what you
I wanted to know um what is the process like when you're doing digital marketing for a client?
mean. Yeah, I mean it starts with really understanding the problem, like what's the problem, what are they trying to achieve? And I think also I really want to understand the audience. I think the more time I can really understand their customers and what their customers want and how best to appeal to their customers, that usually makes everything sort of come together. Otherwise, you're just stabbing in the dark. So I think taking the time to really to understand your audience and to understand the problem to be solved is a really important part of my process, and probably weight a lot towards that. And um, giving due time to conceptualizing, like thinking everything through, and then actually once that's happened, it's a lot of it is execution, and also testing. Like I think you can over finesse something, you can over finesse a solution, but you've never tested it in
Mm.
reality, on the ground. And I think again that's something that's really beneficial to the data side of things in digital marketing, is that you can get immediate feedback whether something's working or not. But things have got to work in reality; they've got to work on the ground. So, um, I think testing is a big part of making sure that you're able to hit the brief, but also really get it very sort of well targeted, by understanding your audience and what they want. It's very important.
Yeah. Um, I was gonna say something, but it just went over my head. Um,
Back, I'm sure.
oh, yeah, probably. Um, have you ever have you experienced writer's block?
That's a good question.
And
I've
if you
definitely
have, how do you,
had,
overcome it?
yeah, that's the key, isn't it? I've definitely experienced creative block, like feeling
Yes,
very stuck creatively.
I agree
Uh,
with that.
yeah, just sort of out of ideas, or just sort of stuck in myself, not knowing how to move forward. I think by the time now that I'm sort of working more professionally as a writer, I'm very careful to like look after my creative energy, and a lot of the way I do that is to make sure that I'm getting inspiration from lots of different sources. So that
Mhm.
might be making sure that I'm reading up on things, or investigating interesting ideas, or um, often it's just going for a walk in nature, and getting away from the screen. And I think nature is really inspiring, actually, and it's a great place to kind of process. And I think being in motion as well, I get a lot of my thinking done by walking, being outside. Um, and there's a singer-songwriter called Joni Mitchell. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's quite
No.
established. And I loved something that she said, which was that she crop rotates. So when she's finished writing an album, she'll then spend a period of time painting.
Okay.
And so there's this thing of like no one thing ever gets exhausted. So I think like kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about the cross-pollination, spending time in different creative disciplines. I think that really helps to sort of gain inspiration from different art forms, or sometimes it's going to a gallery, looking at some paintings or drawing, or just doing something completely different from writing, but that's still creative. I think that really has helped me to yes, stay fresh, I guess, and not to so I haven't as yet experienced writer's block. It may happen, I'm sure it will, but at the moment I'm working to curate that creative energy well, and through those practices.
I've experienced creative block many times.
Mm.
And because I'm such a visual learner, I always try to find ways that I could, re-spark that energy. I think the longest creative block I had was for about 2 years. So that was from 2020 during lockdown until the end of 2021. Almost 2 years and a half, I'll say. And it took an entire year for me to just be like, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna focus and just, leave the country.
Yeah.
So like in being in a new environment can re-spot, can re-energize that energy of just figuring out what it is that you want. Because when I did come back, I was like, I want to do all the different photography style,
Mm.
And as a self-taught photographer, I've only worked in a specific area where I did a lot of portraits and headshots and creative photography, and visual storytelling. And when I started my business, I ended up with 3 different photography styles. So that was like whether it was branding, weddings, family. Now I'm just down to branding, which is pretty much the main thing that I've been working on for years. So sometimes when you take a space or a step back from creating or from writing or just anything that you've been doing for many years, you kind of see if it is something that you do love generally. And then, you could automatically might,
Yeah.
without even thinking about it, you might come back to it later down the road and kind of just re-spark that
Yeah.
energy, that creativity. Um, like you said, nature does help. Music,
Yeah.
movies, like just watching
Yeah.
movies, like you see how other people say, for example, you're a writer. So if you're watching a movie and you see the dialogues and how things are written and the storytelling version of it, that could spark something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always I love keeping the subtitles on because I love to see the dialogue. I want to see the words on the page, so to speak. So yeah, and just how people string different words together, and turns of phrase, or how they might characterize. Um, you know, it's an amazing process to see other people's excellence. It's
Yeah.
very inspiring and spurs me on.
Yeah. um Before, it looks like we're making a very good time. It's pretty much 3 o'clock. um is there any additional information or tips that you want to give out to anybody that is starting out as a digital marketer?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in that field, I definitely recommend doing an upskilling course, but also um, finding other people doing the same, and like learning from them, learning from experts in the field. On the kind of creative side, with right, I mean, it all comes into it, but there were a couple of things I was thinking of. One is something called The Artist's Way, which is a really useful book, which is about practicing creativity and some of the things that can help overcome, like creative block or writer's block. That's a book by Julia Cameron. Another book that I was hugely inspired by recently is by music producer Rick Rubin, The Creative Act. And that gives some brilliant advice and thoughts around creativity. There we go. You've got it.
I was just showing her the book. I
That's
recently
brilliant.
got it.
You've got that already. You've got The Artist's Way. That's fantastic. And then there was another one actually, which I think I read a while back, but it's called Think Like an Artist by someone called Will Gompertz. And it's really about the close relationship between the skills required as an artist and the skills required to be an entrepreneur, and they are really closely related. So those were kind of a few tips of things to read. And otherwise, definitely like finding community, finding fellow creatives, I think is really, really valuable. And because
Very
at times,
valuable.
yeah, yeah. And you need to know that you're not alone in sort of like, charting that path.
No, I definitely agree with the last one because finding fellow photographers and artists, it just fuels my life and makes things so much easier for me. And to just have somebody that you can bounce off ideas, or work together, um, and just support each other, like that is just amazing. And I will also double down on that and just be like, find group of people that have the same passion as you, same drive as
Mhm.
you, um and are just ready to create something.
Yeah.
Um, I think that was the last of the questions. I really did enjoy our conversation and I hope that I could have you back soon.
Yeah, thank you
Um,
for having me. I've really enjoyed it too. It's been really great to chat with you.
yeah, it's been very informative, very conversational, and I love that. Um, and I think I've met you recently as well. Like it's been a couple of months. Like I haven't known you for that long.
Yeah, we crossed paths. What was it, earlier this year?
Yeah, I'll say
We met.
around maybe August.
Yeah, maybe this summer sometime.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, connections
so
are always great.
um for those that want to work with you, where can they find you?
Oh yeah, I've got a website which is flexanoel.co.uk. That's
Mm,
flexanoel.co.uk, and that's the same as my Instagram handle and Pinterest. So that's Flexa Noel, all one word. And then if you want to connect through LinkedIn, you can find me under Alex Noel.
that's great. I will link her informations and socials down below so that you guys can contact her and connect with her and hopefully work with her. I'm excited for what you are, gonna achieve and what you're gonna do in the work, and can't wait to see many more.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you. And likewise, look forward
thank
to
you.
seeing how your career unfolds.
Yeah, and hopefully we can work together with something else other than the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And I'd love to come back on whenever you want to have me. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay, of
Bye.
course. Bye. Bye, Anissa.
Oh, that was amazing. I loved I love I'm literally out of breath, but that conversation was amazing. For those of you that know Alex, I hope you enjoyed the podcast and you continue working with her, and cheering her on. And for those of you who are the first, are just hearing about her, go to her website. I will link everything down below. Contact her, work with her. I did meet her in person a couple of times, and she's just amazing and has so much knowledge and so much drive and very passionate about what she does. And I really do appreciate that. So I'm going to end the podcast episode here. Um, I will see you guys in another episode. I don't know when I think I'm going to take the next couple of weeks off and then I'm going to start recording my episode where Kate, which is the first guest for the podcast, will interview me. I don't think I've done it that way before, but I really just wanted to do a episode that is surrounding my story and just talk to somebody because I find it really weird just talking to myself. I mean, I might do solo episodes from time to time, but until then, I really want to make sure that that episode is perfect and great. Um, yeah, so I think that's gonna start a couple of weeks after New Year's, mid-January. I'm excited for that. The questions are almost done, so I'm just gonna finalize everything. But I've just enjoyed um creating this. You know, this podcast is so different from my first one, and the guests are so much different, and I'm just very excited and grateful. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Google, or iTunes, or anywhere else you get your podcast from. And I will see you guys very soon. Thank you. Bye.